Let's let it go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
This is a great day. Coming from LA, sunny California. You know how it is out here. This is Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live with nothing but straight talk. You know how we do it around here. Nothing but straight talk. That's what we do. My co-host is the wonderful, yes, he's the fabulous, he's the intelligent one. He's black and he's proud. Radio personality within his own rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Mr. Keith Swanson. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Dr. Rosie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Well, good. I've got my little hate mail already.
Yeah, I saw the emails. I said, oh, boy, here we go.
You know, it's interesting when you start talking about church and religion. People they act like you talking about their mama.
You can talk about their mama more than you can talk about church or religion.
It's amazing. You know, when I do things, it's really to help people to take a look, take an insight, to evaluate, and just take a second look, review their thoughts, their ideas, why you think this way. Is it profitable for you or is it non-profitable for you? Is it time for a change? And people think when I do this subject, this topic, that I'm trying to get them to discard. I'm trying to get them to come out of the church. I am bashing the church. No, I'm not. I'm not bashing the church. I'm here to take a look at, just like we take a look at politics. Right. We take a look at our schools. We take a look at the Army Force and the Navy, the Marine. It's time that we take a look at everything that we are involved in our lives and evaluate how can we make it work for us. Yes, work for us. That's important. So today, we are talking about, are Black churches beneficial or detrimental to Black folks? We're going to take a close-up look at how religion empowers some and de-empower others. Why? We're going to ask that question. Why? We'll take a look at Black church, their music, their songs that are de-empowering, those that are empowering. I think it's time that we really take a look, because I don't know, if you go into churches now, a lot of them, many of them, you can throw a rock and won't hit anybody. The younger generation tend to becoming more unchurched. Let's say in a church where they can dance and praise dance, do music, entertainment. It's entertainment for many of them. Because when the rubber meets the road, when things really get tough, then they ready to say, well, there's no God. If there's a God, then where is he? How come he let my mama die? How come he let me get in an accident? How come he let my car get repossessed? These are the questions I hear people asked about God. And when they ask the question, Keith, where is God when things go wrong? Then I have to say to them, where are you when things go wrong? Because long as we can have a scapegoat, we can blame God for our mishaps. We don't look at what part we played into it. So that's what I want people to understand, that you have some choices in this life, and you really need to take a hard look, because some people think because they go to church, everything is going to be okay. Some think if I pay tithes, that's all I have to do. You don't have to pay your brothers or your sisters. You don't have to take care of your children through child support, but you're paying tithes. So you think you're buying favors with God or buying your way into heaven. I don't know what you think, but there are a lot of people, they really have it twisted. And I want them to take a real look at their thinking when it comes to church and when it comes to religion. By no means am I telling people not to go to church, don't believe in God, because I do. And I can tell anybody my faith in God has really made a difference in my life. And I tell people who say that there is no God, all of this is just made up. Well, I'd rather have I just rather believe than not to believe. It worked for me. And I know it worked for a lot of black people, but I wanted to work in a different way, because if it wasn't for church, if it wasn't for religion, it wasn't for the Bible, a lot of black folk would be straight out in an insane asylum, or they would have murdered up a lot of people, or they would have done stuff crazy. That's the only hope coming here in America that the slaves could find was really in their religion. If they hadn't had that, Keith, I don't know what they would have done if they hadn't had faith in something. But I'm just saying, don't run it in the ground with faith like some people do. You know, I want a job, so I'm just going to sit right here and wait on the Lord.
What does it say? Faith without works is dead.
That's right. That's what you call foolishness, not faith. That's foolishness when you do that. But we're going to take a look. It's time to look at the church. I asked the question, is it beneficial or is it detrimental? People have different opinions. I like to hear their take.
Yeah, because ultimately, you know, church is an instrument toward to actually enhance your spirituality. Okay, the church is not God.
Right.
The church is a tool so that you, for your religious practice, so you can get closer to your God.
Right.
And a lot of people think that they're one and the same, and they're not. Just like, you know, the Word of God is not the Bible. The Bible is a book. Okay, the Word of the God is the words that are the meaning of the words that are printed in it.
Right, and people they take it. And the most unfortunate thing, Keith, people take the Bible, they interpret it to suit themselves.
Yes, they do.
If it's convenient, they use it as alibis. They use it as excuses. I've heard people say, you know, when they get caught in a lot of sin or a big scandal, well, the Bible says we all have sinned and come short. Okay, yeah, it does say that. So this become your alibi for doing what you want to do now. So everybody have to sit down and be quiet and don't drop their accusation. The Bible say, he who's without sin cast the first stone. Who was he talking to? That was the woman that was caught in adultery. So you apply it every day to escape doing right. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Human beings, boy, they will always use what's convenient.
Oh, they're going to find a way, you know, when they don't do the right thing. Well, the Lord, it wasn't his will. Now that I'm so sick of that excuse. I failed the test. Now I didn't study. Okay, I failed the test. It was his will that I not pass this test. Why would God not want you to pass a test so you can get a job to take care of your family? I'm tired of foolishness, Keith. I really am.
You can't blame it on their will. You have to blame it on God's will.
Right. It wasn't your time. You didn't get this position. You know, it just wasn't your time. God got something better for you. But 20 years have passed, and where's that better? You're still unemployed. You're still sitting on the couch. You're still not doing anything. You're still not taking care of your children, your wife.
And how many jobs did God sends you that you turn down?
Exactly.
hmm
Wow.
When you talk to them and said, okay, well, nobody ever offered you a job in 20 years, and they'll start telling you a story. Well, how come you didn't take that one? How come you didn't take that one? How come you take that one? How come you didn't prepare for this one? And they always have an excuse.
Well, a lady told me she could have gotten a job in the hospital, but they wanted her to work every other Sunday.
hmm
And she don't believe in working on Sunday because that's God's time.
hmm
I said every day, every second, every minute, it's God's time.
hmm
Didn't you know that God knows that there are people that's sick, that's in the hospital, and they have to be cared for on Sunday? Come on now, give me a break. So I'm talking about things that people do that de-empower them versus empower them because they just have it twisted.
hmm Yeah. Or they will convolute it to actually fit their narrative. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
hmm
Yeah,
when, it,
that's
when when it fits their narrative, all come we're gonna kind of shift it a little bit. We're gonna find a few verses that is actually gonna fit in this, into this drawer right here, so we can actually.
do you know you can find a verse in the Bible almost to fit anything you want it to fit in
Mhm.
your mind,
In your mind. Yep.
in your mind, to justify what you're doing,
hmm
whether it's right or wrong. You can find a scripture. You hear people say, well, God said if you make one step, he'll make two. I have never seen that in the Bible any place.
I haven't either. I've been asking people, where is that?
I haven't found it. I've been searching. If you make one step, I'll make two.
hmm And it sounds like it should be, but I've never seen it.
Well, it seemed to me that the loving God we serve, the one I know, if you didn't make any step at all and he needed to carry you, he needed to make two for you.
hmm hmm
Seemed to me that he would make both steps if you're not able to,
Yeah.
if you don't know how to. That's what we do for our children, right? You
hmm
know how they fall down, they can't walk. We just pick them up. Come on, we pick them up and take them on where they're trying to go,
hmm
right?
Right.
I think God is a little more compassionate and a little more loving than we can ever be. I'm
and,
just saying.
and sometimes he gives you a swift kick when it's needed.
That's right. Get on up. You need to do it. You know how you leave a child sitting on the ground, they act like they're not going, they fall out, they scream, and
mm
they kick, and they sit down, and
mm
you just keep walking.
mm
After you get up to a way so far, they jump up and run up to catch up with you. You ever
hmm
seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I think that's how God does us sometimes. Say, just lay on that wall and kick.
hmm
You'll get up. You'll
hmm
get up. It's gonna come to you. Then I'm not coming back for you because you can walk. You
hmm
can do it on your own. So
Oh.
that's why you're lying there, not because he has forsaken you. It's interesting. So today, as I said, we're going to look at, are black churches beneficial or detrimental?
Mm.
Now, let me just read a little bit from my book, Nigger Please. You wouldn't even You wouldn't think such a topic was in this book, Nigger Please, but this
No,
book,
you wouldn't.
this is really my best book, okay? It was forwarded by the renowned Dick Gregory. We have a chapter in it called Black Churches, Beneficial or Detrimental. It said the church was once the pillar of the black community. Many of our forefathers began their education in the church house. That was their schools, Keith. That's why they started school. They didn't have a
hmm
school. Our political enlightenment came via the church. They toned the bell.
hmm
Something is going on. People ran down to the church to see what it was. Black churches started schools for blacks, started colleges for blacks, and opened up hospitals throughout the South because blacks were being denied entry into white establishment. That's how bad the church used to be. Church was bad back then, Keith. The slaves planned their escape via church songs and music. The feeling that black folk got from attending church was, it just is not obtainable in any other source. Black felt safe, secure in church. Well, I don't know about feeling safe now. Keith, people
hmm
packing guns, people coming into church shooting.
hmm
Well, they felt the presence of God embracing them. They wanted to get in touch with God and feel his presence. So they would go to church. Church was like a dose of medicine It was like an injection that protected you from harm and evil.
Mm-hmm.
After a long oppressive week, when one had been sold away from his family, only the church could inspire one to desire the will to live. The church gave us hope. The church made us feel good about helping each other, being our brother's keeper. That's what the church did back then.
Yes.
The church inspired blacks to love those who oppressed them daily. Church gave blacks joy and knowledge that everything pressed down to the earth would rise like air, so they had hope. I'm down, but I'm coming up like air. Church was the only place the black man was allowed to show his emotion. He better not out in the field trying to show that he's happy or sad. Because if you were sad, you might be contemplating running away. Mm-hmm. He could cry at church. He could holler. He could scream at church. The black man could cry.
Mm-hmm.
He could show emotion. The church was the only place where the black man could be in control and the white man didn't tamper with him.
Mm.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting. The black church was really on the move. It was really beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
They did a lot of things. You know, the civil rights movement, a lot of that, Keith, came through the church.
Yeah, it did. It did. It's the only place you could actually meet up, and there was actually a sanctuary enough to where people could actually come together and actually talk without. It's the only thing that that black people had that the white man actually respected.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you were at church, many of them felt, well, you know, in other words, don't even bother them on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
There was a feeling of sacred, you know,
mm-hmm.
that you could feel free. There was a day off for you.
Mm-hmm.
Church did a lot. Like I said, they opened up schools. If you talk to a lot of people in their 80s from the South, they would tell you that their first schooling was in a church house.
Mm.
Wow.
Well, that's traditional because for actually the church, the priests were actually the first teachers in religions. All religions all over the world. There's only two classes that were actually educated. It was the nobles and the religious or the priest. So the nobles taught their children, but for the commoners, the only way you could actually get an education was at the temple. So It's a very old tradition about the first. Well, actually, the first schools were the priests was the temple. It still is in some parts. It still is today. That's like the old Catholic tradition. They would actually even going all the way back to ancient Egypt. A family, you know how it is. You grew up on a farm, so when you give up a child, you give up labor. It's not just okay. The child is just going to get fed. I don't have to worry about it. No, when you give up a child, you give up hands. You get labor. So it's a big sacrifice to give up a child. So they would give up one child, normally a boy, to actually go and give it to the temple, give it to the church, and the church would educate that child. But when that child grew up, it would come back and educate the rest of the family.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We have something on the board from Doc.
Okay, this is from Dr. J. It said no white respect to black churches today as they burned them down. That's from Dr. J. Have times changed? Huh?
Wow, you're absolutely right. They wouldn't bother black folks on Sunday. It was sacred. They allowed them to, have their church to do what they wanted to do. But now, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. You have a Pharaoh that doesn't know Joseph anymore, huh?
Oh, my God. But the reason I bring this thing up about churches being beneficiary, because when I think about voting, when I think of all the things that we do, look how many people meet every Sunday across this nation at 11 o'clock or 8 and 11. Mm-hmm. And what message is going forward that can empower their attendees?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think about the election, you look at all the radio advertisement, and I know they say, well, church, you can't be political. Well, you can be political as long as you're doing what they want you to do. Mm-hmm. You let a riot break out, I bet you they get you to be political, to come out and get on the mic But the church has a lot of power. So we say, are black churches beneficial or detrimental? Let me give the phone number out because somebody out there want to talk to me. 310-928-7733.
We won't out you to your preacher, okay? So you be anonymous. We won't tell him. We don't tell him that you called him.
I know. 310-928-7733. And I'm telling you, I think everybody really needs to think about this topic, because if you're worshiping at a place and the church is not benefiting the community, I just don't see how you can sit there. I make it my business. You know, the church that I'm a part of, they feed the hungry, and there's so many men who used to be on drugs, and you would never know it. These men stand up and soon and working, and some of them are feeding the hungry downtown. And these are people who've been in prison, folks who've been on drugs, and it's a place where people can come and feel comfortable. Keith, to say, I used to be on drugs. I was homeless. I was on drugs for 25 years. I was incarcerated for life. Well, you can't go to every church and say that. Wow, they would look at you. I don't care if you got on a suit and booted. They still don't want to ever have anything to do with you. You know? So you got to be doing things, feeding, encouraging kids to go to college. It's so interesting. We have a man at our church that when young people bring their report cards, if they have A's, he take them downtown, Keith, and buy them a suit of clothes and take them out to eat with him and his wife.
Wow.
Those kids are running up every Sunday, Keith, with different report cards. I got something for being good. I got something for being improved. So they're going to always give them something, if it's nothing but a $5 gift card. So it has made such a difference. So churches need to be focused on education. It should not be a child in a church that doesn't know computer. You have educators there. You have teachers. Why can't they come to the church during the week or at night and empower the people in the church? We waiting on Red Cross. We waiting on the system to do the thing that's not going to get done for our people. The church should do it. The church folks. You say you're your brother's keeper. So the church beneficial? Well, they can be. They used to be. Some are and some are not. They have the influence. They have the authority. They have the power. And money to be beneficial.
And the better and the more educated and the more educated your members are, the better for your church.
It is.
Because they're going to bring in more money, they're going to bring in more wealth, and guess what's going to happen with your church? It's going to grow right along with them.
And if you can teach them wealth building, I mean, the church thrives, the members thrive. If there's a need among your congregation, you are able to help. You can't go. How many of you out there can go to your church? You lost your job. You're 1 month behind in your house note. Next month, your house will go into foreclosure. How many of you can step up to your church and ask for help? That's interesting. I believe the church would if they had the money, if they empower the people to be economic efficient. We could do a whole lot for the community. So,
yeah, you could. And that usually is the job of the church. That's the thing. It used to be the job of the church. You know, I don't understand where we went off the rails, but that it wasn't about buying a preacher car or plane or anything like that. It was about serving the membership. At least it used to be.
I think when Red Cross stepped in and different organizations and welfare was ushered in, welfare really changed a lot. It changed a lot of women who decided, I don't need a man, you can go. It made some men leave home because they thought their families could live better without them. This welfare system really ushered in some ugly stuff, Keith. Okay? Because then the church felt like, and the families, I don't have to do anything. Let them get on the county.
Yeah.
Your house burned down, let them call Red Cross.
Yeah.
You see? Then, you got Medicare. Well, let them go to a convalescent home. They got insurance. It really changed the fabrics of how we related with each other. You know, the church provide place for what do people get from the average church now? Socialization, fashion show, get preached to, sing. They can do praise dance, do a lot of things they can be recognized for. But most churches do not address economic empowerment. Now, how can you not talk about economics when you're always asking for money? Keith, you got to explain that one to me. Help me with that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're asking for money, that is economics. It's because economics is about money and keeping up my budget. So maybe not yours, but mine.
Wow, we really have to do a lot. When I look at churches that's being remodeled, I see white contractors. I see black folks out there selling dinners, smoking up the community. But I see white folks working on the building. Now, one minister got real mad at me about that. He saw it in my book, Negroes, Colored People, Blacks, African American in America. I showed a picture of black folks out there barbecuing and smoking up the community.
Yeah.
And saw white men up on the roof doing the work. And then showed the black preacher giving the white man the money, handing him the money back for doing the work. So one minister told me I was going to burn in hell for that picture. Well, it's still in the book. And I said, when you stop doing it, I'll stop writing about it, okay?
And they don't see anything wrong with it, huh?
Oh, no. And while they up there building, the black women out there cooking, frying up them dinners, selling the dinners so they can pay. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. I think pretty soon we're gonna do a commercial, and I want people to just talk to me. Let me know. Do you think black churches? And don't feel you're not talking about God. Don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about God.
And we're not talking about every church, because there's lots and lots of churches that are out there doing the right thing. But we think that every church should be out there doing the right thing. So
exactly, there are a lot of churches doing good work, and there's a lot of church. I'm just gonna put it out. They ain't doing nothing. Nothing, as my dad would say. They having church, but it's time to start doing church versus just having church. Okay. They still continue to hold function in white folks' hotels, and they don't even hire black people. And I'm talking about economics.
Well, one guy told me if he hit the lotto, he was actually going to hire him a white butler, though.
What?
With blue eyes and blonde hair.
Well, see, that's the same syndrome that make black men marry white women. That equalizer. I want to be equal to the white man. White man got a butler. I want to have one.
I want a white butler. Yeah. I want
a white butler. I want what the white man got. That's why we so jacked up now trying to imitate somebody else that we don't even know. Years in the past, our mothers would say, go to college, get a good education, find a man to sit you down. She didn't realize that the white one was sitting down because she had my mama up, my auntie, and everybody else. She had all our people up. That's why she was sitting down, okay? So we better get the facts and stuff. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and have you to do the assessment as to, is your church beneficial or detrimental? What are they doing? Let's look at some of the things that your churches can do. And if your church is not doing those things, it ain't nobody's fault but yours. It's nobody's fault but the people who sit in the pews.
Sit in the pews. Church wouldn't be a church without them.
That's right. Can't put it on the preacher. You have a responsibility to make our churches better. Okay, I think we'll take a break. Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Milligan, Senior Estate Planner, inviting you to a free Power of Attorney Living Trust Seminar this Wednesday, November 7th. When you leave home, you expect to return. But if not, is your personal and business affairs in order? We have witnessed many celebrities dying without a trust. What a tragedy. Avoid the agony, fuss, and high cost of probate. 323-750-3592.
Ask yourself, who will inherit what you have worked hard for? Who will make medical and financial decisions if you are unable? If you are single, who will be guardian over what you leave for your children or special needs child? Call 323-750-3592.
Stop waiting until your loved one is suffering dementia or in hospital. Do the right thing now. A free power of attorney and living trust seminar Wednesday, November 7th at 6:30 p.m. at Classic One Books, 1425 West Manchester Avenue, Los Angeles. 323-750-3592. Don't put it off.
For the best in metaphysical, spiritual, and holistic programming, you're listening to InnerlightRadio.com, the healing frequency.
Wow. Well, Keith, we're back.
We're back.
As we promised. We got a lot of people listening. I guess they scared, Keith. They scared to call. Think they pastor might hear.
Then pastor might hear them. Dr. Rosie can handle the heat. We can't.
Y'all better learn to handle it because you want it to be better for your children. We want young people to come up, see the churches as beneficial and pack out like they used to. Because a lot of young people are not in church. And you guys, it's for some of these reasons that we're talking about because they don't see any benefits. You know, we need to be about the business of helping men and women to be better in this life, not just waiting for the pie in the sky. You know, don't worry about being homeless, child, because you got a home over yonder. I don't think they want to hear that. What you think?
No, they want to hear something that they can actually use right now.
They want a home right now, right?
They want a home right now because the pie, especially young people, because that pie in the sky is a long way away, and we got to eat. And we got to eat. You know, like a part of mine said, "What's for breakfast? What are you gonna eat tomorrow?"
Well, you think that's funny. My grandson, when I would fix breakfast, while we're eating, he would say, "Granny, what we gonna have for lunch?" I said, can you finish your breakfast? Oh my God, they're not willing to do that, you know. So let's look at what are some of the things that your church is doing. Do they bank with the black bank? I'm just saying. Most people say, I don't know who they bank with. I don't care. That's God's money. So I don't care what they do with it. Oh, well.
So you want to bless the white bank with God's money, but you don't want to bless the black bank with God's money. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, you know, we talk about songs that people sing, just like they sing, "Pass me not, O gentle Savior. Do not pass me by, while on others thou art calling." Just interpret what they really saying. Black folks been passed over and skipped over so long, they think they have to remind God not to pass them by. While on others thou art calling. In other words, why are you helping all the other people, Lord? Don't pass me by. Black folks love that song.
Yep. Oh yeah, especially the mothers of the church on the front row.
Oh yeah, don't pass me by. You know, I know you up there helping the white folks and everybody else, but Lord, don't pass me by. Okay? Do they have a drug program? Keith, I think this is something that almost every church, if you don't have one, you need to be affiliated with another church that have a program where you can refer your people to, because our community is filled with people with drug addiction and alcohol addiction. Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
So where's the church? These are your members. These are people in your congregation that has problems. Are they afraid to even let you know because the way you're going to look at them? So they have to sit there in pain and silence? Because I can't let the pastor know that I'm drinking. I can't let the pastor know that I have a drug problem. The church should be the first one to know, because they should be able to help you. At least the pastor should know. And if he doesn't have a drug program, he should know where to place you. Now, that's one of the things that my pastor does, Pastor Shiggs does. If anyone has a problem, he's so resourceful. He helped to get them into programs, Keith. And that's what the church needs to be doing today. Do they have a counseling program? If not, can you refer your members for counseling when you see the problem they're having and you act like it doesn't exist? I'm talking about churches that's beneficial to their members.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what the church is supposed to be for.
Right.
For your emotional and spiritual needs, and not just to preach at you. It's supposed to help you in your walk. At least I thought.
Exactly. Do they have a scholarship fund available? You have young people in your church? Do they have for non-members as well? Or at least for the members? Mm-hmm. When the young people complete school, they're getting ready to go to college. Mm-hmm. Does the church have a program to help them? Can you go to the pastor for marriage counseling? Do they discuss sexuality when discussing teen pregnancy and AIDS? Do they have a tutoring program? Now, I'm big on this. As with the literacy problem in our community, mm-hmm. we're going to have to take up the slack ourselves. Why can't we have a tutoring program? These are all things that churches can, and some are doing now. Don't mm-hmm. get me wrong. There are churches that's doing just that, but it's not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
Are they concerned about the students' grades? Do they ask the question, how are you doing in school? Let me see your report card. Do they recognize students for academic achievement? That's big. It really blew me away when I saw the deacon at our church who started, buying suits and doing things for people who were doing well in school. Mm-hmm. You should see how those children are bringing report cards and they bring them up front and give them that recognition.
Yeah.
And the church, everybody just clap for them. And they are really striving now. That makes such a difference. I think we have a caller. Go ahead, callers. Give us your name, where you're calling from. We got somebody ain't scared out there.
Well, hello, good morning. Hi, this is Ray, and I'm not scared.
Hey, Ray.
Well, I understand what you're saying about being scared, Dr. Rosie. And also, yes, it's an outstanding topic, once again. I've been listening the past 2 weeks without calling in. But this is a very worthwhile topic regarding churches because of, like you said initially, like you read Dick Gregory's excerpts from his book.
Yeah.
I read that years ago myself. And one thing the church did, the church was always respected. You got that once you left the cotton fields or your job or whatever, subsequently in life, you are raised in the home correctly. You were raised by the church correctly, and you went to the school to get educated so you could reverse that trend. You could mentor, teach, and extol on the things you have learned in school and supply that to the members of the church that you made fellowship with. And that in itself would revolutionize and just like planting seeds into the ground and soil, it will grow. But subsequently, over the years, our churches have lost that pathway to educate the young so they could return and teach those that need to be taught. And when I was growing up, there were churches I belonged to at the time. You had school teachers, you had plumbers, you had bankers, you had civil service workers who were mostly, I grew up in Los Angeles, and they were, and the black people who had those jobs, they had bought homes and businesses and things of that nature. And church I belonged to, we subscribed to years ago to Founders Savings Bank. They used to be in the Crenshaw area and the Washington Boulevard area.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that taught us to respect our people in a way that you saw people of our faces in those positions. And that is why when I moved to Harbor City, California, I would come back to the community. I still had a Founders Bank card, and I still bank with Founders Bank. I never was Bank of America or Crocker Bank or those type of banks. And that's what I instilled in my family and in my daughters. And to this day, they are still doing that today. One of my daughters.
You saw it through the church, right? Because think about how meaningful the church is to us, because the child goes to church before he goes to school. So if home is a good foundation, and then church is a good foundation, because the church helps the child to be better at home, because they're going to learn in Sunday school, obey your parents, for it is right. Your days will be longer. These teachings are very, very good. So now the church is enforcing how you should be at home. And at home, they're telling you, when you go to church, you don't eat in church, you respect your elders, you bow your head when there's prayer, you say your prayers. See, that's what we're missing, because it's like you do what you want to, you live the way you want it. That's what has weakened a lot of our churches, because you didn't do anything coming up. You had to come before the church and apologize. You just didn't live any kind of way and think you were going to be sitting up on the deacon board or in that pulpit, okay?
Yes, and it's not, like I said, it's not being recycled. There's a cut somewhere, a breakthrough, and if it's not in the home, it used to be, if it wasn't in the home, it would be in the church.
Right.
If it wasn't in those two, it would be in the school.
Right.
But now when our kids go to the school, they don't see any of us of color teaching us. There's no relating factor involved. And that's why you have the disconnect. And then if the home is not, if the home is not teaching you to respect whoever is in authority, you're going to have a disconnect there with a non-responsive, no attitude. You have an attitude problem. You have an authoritarian problem. And that's what our homes and churches used to do. And the economical part of that is when the members are in a financial type of position of teaching, they should come to the pastor and let him know that I have blah, 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 blah. And the pastor is rebuffing that. Then that may not, like you said earlier, then that may not be the place where I can recycle my energy and my my knowledge.
So what you're saying, Ray, is that we should be able to use, as members, you should use your talents in the church that you're in. If you're a teacher, you retired, you should be tutoring. You should be helping even the adults. I think churches should have a program for adults who are illiterate. There's a lot of grown people. They skated through school. It wasn't important to them then. They were having fun. They didn't realize how important reading and writing and spelling was going to be later in life. So now they're handicapped. We should have a program teaching so they can help their children.
Yes. But now it seems to be that the leader of the church or the pastor, not putting them all in the same group, but it is more so now as status. And that is not what the church is meant to be. It's not a status type of position. It is a teaching and teaching/learning experience. And this is what they've gotten away from. And that's why you have so much of a disconnect, especially with the young people. I see young people in church today with cell phones on, taking text messages, earphones on, talking through their earbuds in church. If my mom or father saw me looking anywhere else besides the pastor, I was in trouble.
I know that's right. They do everything now, you know.
Yeah, and there's no correction.
No.
Right.
That's the main thing. There's no correction. It used to be if an usher saw you needing anything, a fan or this, that, and other, or out of order, they would, try to correct that. But now they are disrespected.
Well, see, Ray, that would make the schools better if it was extended from our home to the church. Because you find a lot of children who go to church. You can talk to teachers. I've spoken with educators about this, and they can testify, too, that a lot of the children, many of them who are church kids, they don't have as many problems with them as they do the non-church. And I believe that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But they're taught respect.
Oh, yes. I've historically I've been to several churches in L.A. A member of two historically, and we were always mentored by good people. And in the last, I'd say, at least 30 plus years, there's been a disconnect there, whereby the Generation X lost disconnect from the baby boomers. And now the millennials are the next, so to speak, and they can't connect with the Generation X because the Generation X doesn't understand what's going on. They're oblivious to the need and the sacrifices that were made by the baby boomers.
Right.
And that's why you see so many baby boomers still employed, still teaching, still working, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the millennials are so equipped at solving things quickly, or whether it's on the computer or a cell phone or job knowledge or on the internet, things of that nature, where they have bypassed the Generation X, whereby the Generation X has to ask them questions,
Right.
which is kind of, it's nice to do, but it's in reverse order.
In reverse order. And Ray, think about this. Every church should have a forum for youth. For youth talk. Youth talk. Should have it for just once a month. Just like it's a TV show, have moderators and find out how the young people feel, because you keep saying they are our future, but you'd be surprised what's on those future minds. That's why there's no forum, there's no newspaper, there's no show for them. How do we know? They're just talking to each other. We have no idea the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, the desperation, the hopelessness they are feeling.
Yes.
They're in college and they're afraid, will I be able to get a job? Will I have to move back home with my parents like Johnny did? These are things that's on their minds.
Yes.
But who are they talking with? We have a big void. Who's teaching on relationships?
No relationship. There's a disconnect. That's why there's no relationship.
Yeah, there's a big disconnect, and because I think the boomers are too far away, and they're not really listening to us.
Oh no.
The X kind of had that break.
But one reason they're not listening to us because we're not saying anything. We're not talking to them. People get some of they don't listen. What did you try to tell them? Who's trying to tell them something other than those people out there in the secular world? They're telling them what to do. What are we telling them? Think about that. If you're in a church, think about what program do you have for the youth other than praise dance and singing in the choir. What other program? Do you have a budgeting program? You have anything on economic empowerment? What are you doing?
In my church I attend, all of those things are addressed. And that's why I'm saying there's a disconnect, because most churches, if one church doesn't have it, they don't even want to connect with the church that does.
And I always tell the millennials, you got to remember, the millennials are not teenagers. Okay,
true.
They're in their 30s. They're in their mid 30s. Yeah. In other words, they're in their late 20s and their mid 30s. And I always tell the millennials, okay, you say that the boomers don't have programs for you. I said you got to remember, during the civil rights, okay, those are teenagers. Like Dr. Rosie and them were teenagers when they're out there marching and sitting in and stuff like that. And you guys are in your 30s. I said you guys should have developed your own programs that you can understand.
You're right.
Exactly.
But I do think that the elders in the church need to give them room to do it, though.
The growth pattern is available. It's available, Keith. It's available, and you have to have the backing and the support system and the linkage. You have real estate agents, you have life insurance agents, you have banking executives. It's not to put a star on your chest or extend your chest 6 inches, where you can go around to group meetings and say, I'm the VP of this, or I'm the executive of this, or I'm a technician with that. But what are you doing with that? That's like Dr. Keith stated. What are you doing with what you have?
And one thing you said, Ray, is so important. You're right, that there are churches that will not refer. I don't know if they think they'll lose a member, You know, if you don't have a homeless program, you find out you should be resourceful. A church should be resourceful. If I need a halfway house to go to, they should be able to tell me right. The church should refer. It should be a referring station. If I can't help you, I can tell you who can. So you're absolutely right. If you don't have the program for the youth, send them to a church where it's often. But you know, we so busy gang banging like the.
Yeah, and normally the church does have the clout to actually start those programs because they're funded by the state and the federal government, and the easiest people to actually get those kind of programs off the ground are churches.
Because they're nonprofit, absolutely.
They're nonprofit, exactly.
And my church had just secured a six-figure sum to do some outsourcing reach, and things of that nature, which was hard to get. And we were able to get it, and now we're going to start doing some things in the community, so to speak. But the funds were available, but they had to show cause and the effort that you would be doing this. And our church was one of the first churches to have the court system release prisoners in the custody of the church.
Wow.
As opposed to just releasing them at 12:01 p.m. with nowhere to go. So we have a bus and men who pick the prisoners up on Thursday nights and Friday nights when they release dates, and they feed them hot meals, give them cell phone, make a phone call, things of that nature. This is what church used to do.
Yeah.
But somehow it's a disconnect there. Like I said earlier, he keep referring back to that, where everybody sticks their chest out, and where they three-piece suits and ties and matching handkerchiefs, and they're fine.
Well, you know, and Ray, just like these food programs, there are some churches who say, well, we don't have anybody to distribute the foods. Now, you got all them unemployed folks sitting up there and retired people, and they can't get up off their butts and come once a week and get the food that's free to you to give to the people in your community.
Yeah,
that it doesn't make sense at all. But Ray, I think you need to tell us what church you attend, because I've given a shout out. My pastor, he does all these things. You know, Pastor Sheik, they call him Scuffy. He down. He gonna feed the homeless. Okay, and not only that, every Sunday we have children that come to our church, and we know that a lot of them have problems with food and everything. Every Sunday after service, we have a full meal, and nobody pays for anything.
Yeah, and then that's what, you know, I know Bible study is important, you know, Sunday school is important, but also how come they can't have a meeting with different groups that actually meet and actually discuss these problems over time? And, you know, it's hard to get people to do it, say, within a couple of weeks because they're not convinced it's the right thing. But over a couple of years, you might be able to do it. If you have people meet to talk about community, you should have a community meeting for community issues.
Especially with
once a
young
week.
People, single parents, and these women are struggling. If they just have a meeting and to look at how resourceful some other women may say, well, I don't get any support, but I'm able to do this. My children are able to get this. They have this program for your children. Ray, where do you go to church? Where do you go to church?
Yeah, we attend church in the High Desert. And, it's called Abundant Living Family Church at the High Desert.
Okay.
Pastor Mark Graham and his wife Kendra. They came out of the Abundant Living Church that's down in Rancho. But he's been up here for about 8 years now. And 51 years old and former executive with 3M Company, and he graduated out of Purdue University.
Okay.
He is on fire for youngsters and married couples and doing the right scriptural thing and teaching. I haven't missed a Sunday yet where he has not taught and ministered. And the thing I was saying earlier about the buses, he secured 3 buses so far to transport people around the city when they're released and make phone calls, connection, get them some clothes to put on, blah, 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 and connect that way. And we secured a building whereby the homeless can come there and sleep free of charge. And but if you are disruptive, you would be dismissed.
Right. You know what? That is so awesome. I'm glad you brought that out because I want people to know that there are churches out there who are doing great work. The
Yes.
reason for this show today is to have you to look and see what are they doing at your church. What could
Yes.
they do? You can learn from what we're talking about. You go back to your pastor. You know, maybe we can have this program. I will spearhead it. So you can't keep running to the pastor about we ought to do this and let us. Well, who is the us? Go with a program that you're willing to start and you're willing to see it through. So you can't blame the pastor. Those out there who are attending church, we got a big job to do so people see that there's benefit. You know,
Yes.
other than just I'm gonna go to heaven if I attend church. Let's look at some of the other benefits down here that we can offer. It's really important, you know. So
Yeah, I know when I
want
was I was going to church in Los Angeles, and before we moved here, we connected with I can't think of the church where we used to have the meetings on near 108th and Western.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Time I always remember Roger Williams Baptist Church, and they were having a symposium, seminar / things like that, going over young people, whether you're single or married. And that's how, like I said earlier, how another church can get with another church to teach, as opposed to if they don't have the people to do that. And that's how we connected with. You know, at the time I was in a singles ministry, and there was a marriage ministry, and people from our church went to. I always had his name on 108th and Western.
I know what you're talking about. But every church need to have something with marriage and with single people, and it need to be classy. You need up more than just learning about the Bible. Take the Bible and show application when you're doing when you're doing your other meeting and other training. It's so important because the church can turn our community around. I'm telling you that the
it was
church
so beneficial.
It's the pillar of the community, and it can still be the pillar of the community today. But I want those who are listening to understand. I'm waiting on the technician to tell me what time the show is going to re-air.
Okay.
It's not up, you all, to the pastor to do this. You cannot sit in these churches that's not doing anything, and you don't bring up ideas, and don't just put an idea on the table and you run home and sit down. You bring up something of the talents that God has given you.
Right.
And you work it. Don't just dump it in the pastor lap. Well, pastor, we need to start having something for the youth. Well, are you willing to spearhead that? Are you willing to lead it?
You know, Dr. Rosie, believe it or not, this is where he echoes. And he says, you do not sit on your talents. If you have a talent, he says, you come to me. You say, he invites that. You know, he's not afraid of someone having more knowledge than he. Like most people are.
And if you can't work it there, you find a place where you can use your talent.
Right.
You don't have to be stuck in a church because your mama went there, or daddy went there, my grandmama was there. It may not be the place for you.
You got to find some like minds.
Find a place.
Yeah, historically, they want to keep it going that way. Well, same when they have churches, when they have the anniversaries, the same church go back and forth, right? But there's no. They can establish then a type of mentorship with themselves that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Find out what program they have, and you can offer those programs to your ministry. You're absolutely right. We got to come together. Churches have to come together to benefit the community because we all have assets and liabilities. Yes. So wherever program is taking place, maybe you don't want to deal with I remember minister said to Pastor Shiggs one, I just can't deal with the people that you cut out for that. Okay. So, and I said to that person, well, maybe he's cut out for that. Since you're not, then you need to send some money over here. Where, you don't want to move with them kind of people. But you know that God said we need to help the downtrodden. So since you ain't cut out for it, then you send some money over here to Pastor Shiggs since he's cut out to do it. That makes sense, doesn't it?
That makes sense. Yeah, the show will actually rebroadcast at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time and 11:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Wow.
Okay.
So I suggest that you all call your friend. I think this is a good show if I have to say so. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about the church. Or
they listening.
Yeah,
You know, they
my
listen.
God, you talking about their mama. Church is such a sore thumb with people. But hey, folks, come on. Let's make the church work. Let's start having church. You know, I always say people don't mind doing church work. But God's work, they don't care nothing about it. Because church work, you get pat on the back. Oh, you sure did preach. You sure did sing. Oh, you can play that piano. You really did talk good. But when you're in the trenches, feeding the hungry,
Right.
working with the downtrodden, working with the orphan, going to the school. You know, you don't have to have a child in school. Just go up there. You know,
Exactly.
go to the court system. Do what you can. It's so much work to do when people sit around talking about they bored. I said, you're not bored. You lazy. You're
There you
lazy. That's what I'm getting ready to say. Because it can't be a bored moment in a city like LA. Kids walking home from school by themselves. All this, and you bored. You lazy. That's what I said. You damn lazy, okay?
Yes.
They're gonna report you. You know they're gonna report you, Dr. Rose.
I may not go to church Sunday. I'm up to tip.
Oh, your name is out there now.
Well, you all, Ray, we always love when you come on the show. Our time is up. We've enjoyed this show. And we're putting this one up on YouTube. Okay, I think they need to hear. They need to hear it.
Boy, okay.
There go 1 million more viewers there.
That's what I'm talking about. You guys have a great day. Thanks, Ray.
All right, you're welcome.